What's up, everybody? I'm Tasso here. Of course, you can call me as TJ. And today I'm going to show you how to work with a sync component or synchronous component with Vue.js. And this is a really nice approach in once you're working a huge application or once you're working, or would like to actually care about performing in the application. It doesn't matter if you're just starting with your code, but once you're working a huge application, this is really needed. So the idea here is try to split your code smartly. But actually, before we start to talk about asynchronous component, let's understand what actually does it solve. So why I need to use split chunks or split codes, or why I need to use async components. And so let's go back to the example about application. Some applications that you are working, and then these applications have to become huge. Probably if this is become true, is these applications become slow. Of course, if I not pay attention about performing. And the idea here working with chunks is split your code smartly and avoid to just load all your code once, because actually as less code you can deliver at the same time, more faster your code will be understanding by the client. So once the navigator needs to understand your code, if you split your code in smarter chunks, we can reduce the need of the client understand the code at the same time. So this is the idea behind the split your code, is avoid this huge code in the first load. So this is because you how to work that approach with chunks. So if you go and your view header config, you can see that each header of your application probably will have some different kind of way to import your component. And the same approach you can also use in each component and avoid to deliver a big chunk and reduce the chunk. So this is the idea here behind use this asynchronous component. And Vue.js, actually vue-cli with Vue.js and webpack give us a really nice approach to use in any kind of Vue application. So let's see. Actually, first let's start off actually seeing it working. And actually I will remove my face here, it's not necessary anymore. And then we'll reload this application here, and here we have a card, and here we are seeing these JS files from our application. So it's the files that we will generate in our build. So here just example, and once I click on this first button here, we can see that I'm showing this 0.js file, and this file could stay in the same chunk. This chunk async import, and this chunk is from view header, but instead of put it together, I only get this file, I only get this piece of code once the user click on the button. And this doesn't make sense, because I will only show this component if the user click here. If user don't click and change this header and change or go out of this application, I don't need to show this code. I don't need this code. And this is the idea to work with asynchronous component. But let's understand it in the code, right? So here we actually have a simple component, right? So this component is from Beautify, just this card here. And this alert component is a component that I use in also the alert component from Beautify. Oops. And this component only shows if the user click on the button and then change the value of this variable is for async alert open. So here this method itself then change once it's clicked, and then I'll show you or hide this alert component here. Okay, that makes sense, right? I just needed this code if the user click on the button. But let's see how it works in the import component. So first of all, if you go in the kernel component, if you need another component in this component, you need to import like this one here and this one, right? This loading component, and actually this loading component is just a component with this text loading, and this error component is a component with this error text. So we are importing these guys here, and here in the alert component we have the key of this asynchronous component. So instead of just importing like this one, I'm creating a const with alert, this name alert, and this const is actually a function, right? So in this function you will receive a promise, and the promise itself will be here in the component itself. So here in this first parent of this function, this first part of this function, actually what I need is to return an object with a component that I like to show in this field component here. So here, instead of just put the path of alert component, I passing the path behind in the function, in the import function. This function is from the application itself, so it's not a function created by me, and this function that actually return a promise and will be handled or not. And I think this good point here is because once you are creating a function to get this component once it's needed, and it will be triggered once this if here is true, and this is the good point about use wave directive with import asynchronous component, because it will have this behavior of just get this part of the code once it's needed. And actually we also have some other parameters that can help us with, you know, with the handling of this promise, because as it's a promise, I can, you know, I will have some time to get this code, and also you can have some error. So this is the idea here about this two params, this twice param, this two params. So I'd like to show this guy here. Also, I didn't finish yet my promise, and also my promise have finished, but I get the catch, so I got some error. I would like to show you this guy here. And this timeout is just the time that webpack will try to get this component by the server is not possible, and this time webpack will show this error component. And just it, guys, this is how to use asynchronous components with Vue.js. So let's go here again on our application and see it's working. Actually we are here with this button, and let's actually change, let's clear here, let's change this mode here to, for example, is low 3G. Once I try to get this component, we see this loading here, and then we see the right components, the alert component, and here we see the chunk, you know, the piece of the code that I like to show. Let's now try to show the error. So let's reload the page and move this mode actually to offline modes and try to get the alert component. Let's clear the network again and try to get, and as my connection is offline, I got this error here, and also you can see in the network that something got failed. And that's it, guys. I think this is enough to show the idea behind use async components. And yeah, of course, you can also using this nice approach from webpack called as magic comment. The idea here is instead of just get this random name of this file here, this chunk, we can also give some name to this file, and then let's go here again and reload. Actually just change, you know, trolling, reload again, if I go here, try to get the component, I got the name passing for this magic comment. The idea here is create a kind of name for this jank and reference it, and there's the big, the good point about to use this kind of the approach. You can make sure once you use the same magic comment in another place, we can also avoid to get the same code from webpack, and this is another way to avoid to downloading the same code once you have gotten this code in the first moment. So for example, if I go in another component, use the same port with the same check name, webpack will know that that code is already there, and then won't avoid to get the same codes again. This is a really nice approach from webpack, and of course you can also see what actually this chunk is, and then once something get wrong, you can easily debug this part of the code. But I think that's my point about async components. You can see that is really easy to work with asynchronous component, and for sure the idea here is work once it's needed. So in this situation when you need just this piece of the code, once the user clicking some button or some some action from the user, is a really nice approach to use this asynchronous import here and avoid to reduce your size of your chain. But that's it, guys. I hope you have liked it, and see you in the next video.